Officially live. What's up, everyone on YouTube? Welcome back to Trails on the Spectrum. In this live, we got a very special live for you guys today, and we're doing this early because my brother and sister-in-law are coming to visit for the weekend, and we won't have time to do the show on a Saturday. We might do something different on Saturday. So we're doing all of our Saturday stuff today here on a Thursday. So let's talk about this. As you know, I was basically born to ride, and I've been thinking about this a lot, like how I got to this position of riding a side by side down the trails, and how am I so good at conquering these trails. And it comes from years and years of practice. As you see from the thumbnail, if you see from the thumbnail, you can see that there's a red Jeep, a 2006 Easy Go golf cart, and it kind of put everything together. So I come a long way since then. So let's kind of go way back to the 90s. Growing up in South Carolina, there wasn't much to do during that time, especially when it comes to being outside and doing fun things. And one thing I did like was, my Power Wheels. Almost every kid back in the day had a Power Wheels. They were kind of like the rite of passage for a lot of us to learn how to drive, even at a very young age. And since we had a very small yard, it allowed me to work within my means and work within my boundaries, because we had a fence put up in sometime in the 90s or so. Yeah, we had a fence put up, and I worked within the backyard. We had a huge backyard. The front, I mostly stay in the backyard with my Red Jeep Powerwheels. There's a lot of videos of me driving that Power Wheels. It really goes to show that I was born to ride. And ever since the 90s, I've really had a lot of practice driving a Power Wheels to, I don't know what kids are driving now and what the modern equivalent. I don't know if Power Wheels is still around. It probably still is, but it's probably gotten a lot better since the 90s. But this is something that's really, really cool about coming a long way since the 90s. Let me check. About 97 Jeep Power Wheels. Red. Wow. A lot of mine was very similar to this one right here. And as you can see, this is basically what really got me into driving, was my mom and my dad giving me this. It really set me off for driving and conquering the trails and all that stuff. So I work within the means, especially living in a mobile home with a very small yard in the south. I've learned to work within my means of, I think it was something like this at the very top. I think that's what it looked like. And I used that. I drove that thing a lot in the 90s, and I drove it till it just fell apart. And what's really cool about these Jeep Powerwheels back in the 90s, they were really easy for a toddler to use. And I guess the point I'm trying to make here is that it's always good to start off kids small when they're young and they can start driving, learning how to drive with these Power Wheels. And then I moved up to something even better in 2006. So about 10, 20 years later, I moved up to the golf cart. My grandparents gave me my first golf cart in middle school. When I type in the word golf cart in my I guess this will be a good photo. This is 2007. As you can see here, that's just me driving the golf cart around. It's a red and burgundy 2006 or 2003 Easy Go golf cart, because we bought all of our golf carts used, and I drove that thing around like until it fall. I actually been driving that thing around from 2006 to about 2020. It lasted a long time. I guess because we redid everything. We replaced the batteries. We did all this stuff. So we just kept driving it until it didn't work anymore. So we traded in with another golf cart. You know, that has been with me from the mobile home here to this house. And we rode around this 3-acre lawn a lot, and of course rode around the neighborhood. That was kind of fun. And this was probably in the early 2010s. So as you can see here, this was a really awesome golf cart for what it is. And I mean, that's basically my second ever vehicle. Learning how to drive the golf cart, even with a little bit more power. So as you can see, over the years, the power has gotten more and more. We increased the power a little bit, and I don't have any early pictures of my golf cart, like in because all I have are from 2022 up. After we got it back from, because I was in Iraq back in 2022, and with that golf cart, it's no longer with me. I don't have any newer, like older photos of my golf cart, like when I first got it in 2020. I don't have many photos of the golf cart. So, with this golf cart, we didn't really venture out a whole lot. As you can see, it's a 2017. And this is the first golf cart like we ever modified was right here. with the golf cart. We modified it with some accessories. Like we put on a front bumper, we put on a back bar, we put on some rear view mirrors, armrest with cup holders for the back. We didn't do that with the older golf cart. I don't know why. We put on speakers from Ant Caddy. Were wireless Bluetooth speakers, battery powered. We didn't do anything interior wise. It just stayed the same. So we just have safety things for the golf cart. And that golf cart I mainly drove around the yard, or not the yard, but the neighborhood. And I stopped driving it for a while. And this golf cart, it almost had like almost the exact same power, but I guess it was a lot faster than my 2003 Easy Go golf cart with the advancements in battery technology, making this thing a lot faster. So that's basically what the golf cart looked like. And it went up to 25 miles an hour. And we even did a new steering wheel, which felt really good. The grip was amazing for what it is. So I kept that from 2020 all the way up to 2025 or 6. So I didn't really keep it that long. After how insane my neighborhood has gotten, I just stopped driving around the neighborhood and I just stopped driving the golf cart altogether. I wasn't as motivated to drive my golf carts as I did with the RZR. I try to drive my RZR as much as I can because it's gas powered, not battery powered. You gotta keep the gas going. I'm gonna keep the oil and keep all this stuff lubricated and just drive around the yard. And that's where things started to happen in 2025. We started looking at side by sides in 2023 or 4 when I went to South Dakota and at Rice's Power Sports in Rapid City, South Dakota. We were looking all over at like CF Moto, Polaris maybe. I don't know if we saw any Can-Ams. I don't know what I saw. I can't remember. But I did see a lot of Can-Ams. I saw CF Moto. I saw some Polaris. Polaris is huge. It's a big brand. So because of that, I was looking at even more when I got back home to South Carolina. Went to our local dealership, which I've had really good experiences with and a good connection with. And that is Redline Power Sports here in Conway / Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. The staff have been really nice, very supportive in taking care of my machine whenever they can get to it, like whenever it's serviced. The service department has been doing a really good job. They've been doing really phenomenal. I'm really impressed with the service department and also the main staff who works on the showroom floor, helping me pick out the perfect side by side. Even though my dream side by side was gone, the Kawasaki KRX, TRX um, 4 1000 Blackout Edition, but we found even something even better. And in February of 2025, which was last year, I went to Redline Power Sports to look at the Honda or not the Hondas, the Can-Ams, the Kawasaki's, the Polaris. We looked all over the showroom floor. We even looked at all over outside, and we saw the Blackout Edition, and we fell in love with it. And then we also looked at Big Toy Superstore right between the South Carolina and North Carolina border. Big Toy Superstore. And it's actually in Carolina Shores, North Carolina. It's actually in Calabash, right on the border of South Carolina and North Carolina. So we went there to look at some CF Moto, maybe some Stingray brand. A lot of this I've never heard of, since these are like more Chinese made side by sides at Big Toy Superstore. They don't have the good American brands that I've been looking for in a side by side, especially with a golf cart. Picking out a golf cart, before I got the side by side, we were mostly looking at Graham golf cars. We found one in Myrtle Beach. There was one in North Myrtle. We were looking all over. And when I traded in my 2006, I was going to get a gas powered golf cart. Those would have been fun. Just to fill it with gas, no issues. Just fill it up, and then I'll be on my way without having to charge with the battery. But I ended up getting a used 2017, even though it was 2020, so about 3 years old. Yep, every golf cart we buy, or buyed, and purchased, and took home were 3 years old. So we had 2003, 4, 5, 6. So 3 years old for the 2003 Easy Go. Same thing with the 2017. 17, 18, 19, 20. 3 years. That was a pattern when it came to the golf carts, was we found we always keep buying the ones that were 3 years old. I wanted to buy one that was relatively brand new, not 3 years old. I learned from that mistake. With the Power Wheels, I think we bought it at Walmart. Yeah, they had a lot of Power Wheels at Walmart. Maybe Kmart. I'm not sure where they would sell the Power Wheels. I think it was mostly Walmart. And this was back in the 90s. And I can't remember exactly where we bought the Power Wheels, the Jeep Power Wheels. I mean, this had to have been almost 30 years ago. But yeah, back to the story of the side by side. So after looking at Rice's Power Sports in South Dakota, in Rapid City, South Dakota, when we were there for Christmas, we were looking all over and didn't find a thing. But we actually ended up going to one of our local dealerships that February. Yeah, we went to two different dealerships. We went to Redline Power Sports and also Big Toy Superstore. One was in Conway, well, in Myrtle Beach, right on Highway 501, which is what the one we end up going with in late September, early October. And then, of course, Big Toy Superstore that had all the Chinese brands, which could probably become unreliable which were the CF Moto and, of course, Stingray. And we were actually looking for a four-seater side by side, because I wanted to take family as well. When we go trail riding, to take family members. So there's 7 of us, and there's only 4 seats. So my brother and sister-in-law are 2. My sister and future brother-in-law is 4. My mom and my dad are 6. And then, of course, with me, 7. There's 7 of us, and there's only 4 seats. That's quite the sacrifice to make. I mean, we would probably have to get multiple machines if we decide to go for a ride, like all go for a trail ride. We'll have to rent a side by side. Also carry my machine. So that's why we were looking for a 4-seater. And then in late September, early October, we were coming home from Mount Pleasant because my dad had a doctor's appointment. And we ended up buying the side by side right then and there, because I knew I fell in love with it. Because I know there's been a lot of people on Instagram or on TikTok. It was TikTok that say, "Is your side by side a turbo? Is it a turbo?" No. A lot, like, barely does Redline sell turbocharged side by sides, unless it's a rare model. Most of the side by sides at Redline are mostly naturally aspirated, because that's all we need here in the South. Because we're mainly going off roading at Riverneck Acres, which you don't need to go that fast. And also Carolina Adventure World, those trails are so tight that you're not using most of the power to go down the trails, because there's a lot of turns, and yeah, it's not the greatest. So in late September, I think it was September 30th, we actually did a video. And we actually did a video about what it was like owning this side by side for almost a year. And we talked about the story of the year, with all the trail riding that we did at Carolina Adventure World, Riverneck, riding around the yard, getting accessories for the side by side. So come over here to photos, and we'll type in September 30th, 2025. We'll just search for September 2025. And that was when we picked up the RZR. And what's great about the Ultimate model, it's fully loaded. For those of you who are been kind of confused of what the Ultimate model is, it basically has the Fox shocks, it has the ride command, it's got a roof, it's got a windshield. Well, I guess a lot of that stuff is on a base model, like the Sport model. The Sport model, everything is on the Ultimate model, everything is digital, like everything is built into the ride command system, where there's no analog speedometer and tachometer. So it has a 999cc motor, which I think that's the highest power most side-by-sides are at Redline Power Sports. Which is crazy that right after we left Mount Pleasant for my dad's appointment, we picked up the RZR. And that was kind of fun, even though I was supposed to get it for Christmas that year. Yeah. We decided to get it early because these things were going fast. And I knew that new models would be brought in and that model would have been gone. But it's a good thing I got the Ultimate model, which is the fully loaded with the Fox shocks, the ride command, and it's got a vented windshield. It's got a roof. But there's, I guess, what really makes the Ultimate model different from the Sport model is that it's got the Fox shocks and, of course, the ride command. I guess it's the only main difference. Because each RZR XP is like 999 cc's. Especially if you get the 1000 model. Even though back in my birthday, I think in 2023, we went to Redline for the first time to look at side-by-sides. And we saw a 950S from Polaris. We saw the Can-Am Maverick XRS, or yeah, XRS, and the Yamaha Wolverine. We saw all kinds of really cool stuff that we saw at Redline for the first time in 2023. And then some time has progressed, and we started doing more and more research and all this amazing stuff that we were doing to get the side by side. And here we are with the 2025 Polaris RZR XP, which is a 4-seater Ultimate model with the Fox shocks and the ride command. I mean, he's got some really good power, 114 horsepower. And it all comes back to starting young. And once I got the side by side, I already knew how to drive it because I was so used to the Power Wheels, the Jeep Powerwheels, the golf carts from the 2003 model and the 2017 model. It's just I knew how to drive. I mean, at that time, I've been driving for at least, let's see, 97, 07. Wow. Like 28 years? Yeah. Maybe 27 years. Yeah, I think it was 27 years at that time since age 3. And what comes with living here in the South since the 90s is that we were very limited on technology, and there was so much stuff we can do to keep ourselves occupied and busy. I wonder if Gemini will show us what do the 2026 Power Wheels look like, if there are any. Because I know there's a lot of fancy car designs for a toddler learning how to drive for the first time, especially at 3 or 4. Wow. So some of them look really. Okay. It says modern ride on vehicles and Power Wheels in 2026 feature scaled down realism, both off road style and premium finishes, modeled directly after real world vehicles. Wow. I think mine was replica of a 90s Jeep. like off-roading Jeep, like a Jeep Wrangler back in the day. Okay, key design trends include authentic car replicas, licensed trucks and SUVs, feature working LED headlights and taillights, detail front grills, realistic side mirrors, and brand logos, off-road buggies and UTVs. That's another thing, is that when a kid gets older, you can move them up to a Polaris RZR 200 EFI or RZR 150 EFI. High performance ride-on showcases, exposed roll cages, raised ground clearance, and wide knobby EVA rubber tires, upgraded interior. The interiors look more realistic than past generations. And one of them is a Ford F450 custom edition kids ride on truck. Features an imposing dually rear wheel design and underbody LED lighting and both grille, and to mimic a full size heavy duty pickup. And there's the Mercedes G63 2 by 2 4 volt 4-wheel drive kids on ride car. Then there's one that looks like a John Deere tractor. Man, things have changed over the years. Because I remember when I was a kid, even the seats have changed. Especially from the Red Jeep Powerwheels, it was mainly made from plastic seats, and of course a simple reverse and forward gear switch on the front, or on the, like underneath me, it would be a lever to full forward or back. And the design, what I guess is supposed to be like a 90s Jeep Wrangler off-road vehicle. You know, my sister had a Jeep, my sister had a Power Wheels. My brother had, we all had Power Wheels growing up. It's why a lot of us could drive so well. And this was the 90s and 2000s. And then in 2006, I don't think we had anything before that. I'm not sure what we had in 2005, 4, 3, 2, 1, 2000. But I know in 2000, August 2006, yeah, that's when we got our first golf cart with a bench seat. It was a lot more comfortable, and of course, it had a back to it on the back of the seat. Yeah, there was a back to the seat to lean back and stay more comfortable. So it was more of a bench type seat, and the back had a full down seat for a bed. I guess to have, to help with work around the house. So it was kind of a very versatile machine, even though, being battery powered. And even the charge have gotten more, I guess, power efficient since then, since the 2003 model. And it have like a voltage meter type thing, and even, I guess I wasn't really into golf carts as I was other vehicles. So I mainly drove the golf cart mainly around the yard until we moved here to this neighborhood. We rode around the neighborhood. Yeah, I don't think I ever rode around the neighborhood by myself on the golf cart when I was younger, when we lived in the mobile home. So we mainly stayed around the yard. Yeah, we even stayed around. We stayed around the front yard. We went from the backyard to the front yard to the backyard, and we opened up the gate so we can go in and out. So we mainly rode around the entire house. So yeah, we did a lot with the golf cart leading up to when we moved in this house in 2008. So I mainly went around in circles. I don't think we ever rode around the neighborhood unless we were together. And I started to drive my golf cart around the yard or around the neighborhood when I got older. Maybe that's why, because when we moved in here, I was 14, almost 15, and we mainly rode around the neighborhood. And we did drive the other golf cart a lot for at least 3 years, 4 years, because it sat in the garage for over a year or so, not being charged. Actually, it was overcharged, so I couldn't drive it at all. And that's when my dad said, "Hey, let's get you a side by side." Because we were already planning to do a side by side a year or two after getting the golf cart. We were thinking about side by side probably since 23, 22, 23, around that time. Yeah, we were deciding us. We were thinking about getting a side by side for years, but we weren't ready, for a side by side yet until I wanted to go out and ride my golf cart, and no, it wouldn't turn on. We tried everything, jumped the battery. We tried everything. Just the batteries just were completely dead. They were overcharged. So it just sat in the garage until August of last year when we gave it to my cousin, and they love that golf cart. It's a great golf cart. Now, so mainly with the golf carts never really ventured out. We didn't really go anywhere with the golf carts. They just stayed around they never left the neighborhood or left the house. That's the thing, is that it never left. Unless it had to go get serviced or whatever, or get new batteries. We didn't really take it anywhere. That's what's disappointing about my golf carts, is that we never got to venture out and go to different take the golf cart to different places, like different campgrounds, like Myrtle Beach State Park or Parkland or wherever. We didn't get to venture out and take our own machine. Even when we go camping at Pirate yeah, it just stayed home because we rented a golf cart every time we went somewhere. And I was actually going to keep both the golf cart and the side by side, like take the side by side trail riding, but also take the golf cart. When we went camping, we were going to have multi use vehicles, have multiple vehicles for multiple usage. But seeing that my cousin Olivia, maybe um, I guess her boyfriend Austin wanted the golf cart, so I said, sure, I'm getting a side by side. Don't really need it. And it was just gonna be sitting in the garage. It's a good thing too because that side by side takes up half of the garage, and I would have never had a single place to put the golf cart, even if I wanted to park the side by side and the golf cart. So, had to make a compromise. But if we look up on here, and we look up August 2025, and this is the day we say goodbye, August 8th, 2025. We said goodbye to the golf cart because my mom was pulling it. I was hoping my mom pull out of its spot to make room for the side by side. The last time I sat on my golf cart, it felt different because I haven't driven it in about a year or two. And it was just sitting there getting dirty, dusty, a lot of spider webs all over it. So we took this golf cart and gave it to my cousin who really wanted it. Because they wanted something to do with my cousin Briella while she grows up, and is to take her for a ride on the golf cart. Yeah, have something to do in their neighborhood, so I gave it to them. They strapped it down. They were on their way. Yeah, they were on their way to having a free golf cart. No charge because they're family. And that was the golf cart on their trailer before they took it away. The last time I saw it, August 8th, 2025. Because I didn't know that a month later, we would get the side by side, the Polaris RZR XP for 1000 Ultimate, which is the highest trim level imaginable. And we got it in late September. So we actually got it way over a month later. So we picked out the Storm Gray and Lime Green Polaris RZR XP which means it's the 4-seater, and 1000 means it's the non-turbocharged engine, 999cc Gen 2 Pro Star engine with 114 horsepower. And man, that thing can rip. Whoo, whoo. Even down the trail. If that thing can rip like there's no tomorrow. And on September 30th, that's when we got the side by side, and we picked it up on August the 16th. Because after purchasing the side by side at Redline Power Sports, we had to accessorize it. So we were waiting for all the accessories to be put on, and then we got my dad a new trailer, a 16-foot trailer. That's another thing we gave my my cousin, is the red trailer that we've had for over 30 years. Which is insane. So a lot has changed, and I've come a long way over the years, and ever since then I've become more of a pro at driving, especially from my Red Jeep Powerwheels to 2 golf carts and a side by side. So this is my 4th vehicle in 30 years or so. So when it comes to my vehicles, I like to drive my vehicles until they fall apart. I did the same thing with the golf cart. I did the same thing with the Power Wheels. And I'm gonna do the same thing with the side by side. And with the side by side, I can actually check on how many miles I have. I have driven. I've driven almost 1,000 miles. 1,000 miles in just over a year, like almost a year, which is insane. I mean, it's just mind blown of that I actually put almost 1,000 miles on that side by side almost within the last year. But when we take it to Carolina Adventure World, whoo, it's gonna have way over 1,000 miles, boy. Woo woo. And I've really learned how to conquer those trails. Even on my first trail ride, I was doing so well. And that was November 6th. I knew how to conquer the trails. And plus, I've done off roading for years, since I was a teenager. I've been going off roading since I was a teenager, so I had years and years of experience going off road. And even when I was a kid, my dad would take me off road, and it's just become my part of my life for as long as I can remember. I mean, it started in my dad's Ford Ranger in the 90s and the early 2000s. And then a GMC Sierra 2011 model. It was my uncle's before he passed away, and before he passed away, almost actually a week ago, he would take me off-roading in Johnsonville, and that's when I really got to off-road for myself. Even in the mid-2000s GMC Sierra with a tape deck, and we had all kinds of really cool tapes, and I would connect my phone to his truck as well. It is the 2011. So I've really grown with that off-roading lifestyle. And now with the Polaris RZR, I can venture out a lot more than I can with, or than I could with the golf cart. The golf cart really, I didn't really venture out a lot. Even with the Power Wheels, all three of those vehicles never had a chance to venture out. Which is insane to think about. It just feels great seeing how far I've come. Even when I was 3, I knew how to drive. It's like I don't know what is it about, you know, driving. I just can't wrap my hand around driving since like the 90s in my Red Jeep Powerwheels and how good I was. And it's like I knew where to go. And also when I moved up to the golf cart, I knew what to do. With the 2003 golf cart, when I got to drive it for my first, by myself for the first time around the yard. And ever since then, I started going out. Yeah, I've been going outside driving. I'm doing the same thing today with the side by side. I've really enjoyed my side by side, and there's gonna be a lot more adventures to come for you guys in the next month or two. When we start going trail riding, there's gonna be a lot more trail riding videos with my machine as we get to the first 1,000 miles. We're gonna take it to Carolina Adventure World, and my dad's gonna take me to Windrock in Tennessee, Durhamtown in Georgia, and maybe the Half of McCoy trails in West Virginia. So there's a lot we can do with the side by side that we can do with the golf cart. So I've learned a lot of lessons of staying focused and really paying attention to what's around me. And I learned how to work the pedals, the gas pedal, accelerator, the brake, the parking brake. I've learned how to put in reverse, drive. And with the side by side, I've learned how to put it in 4-wheel drive, 2-wheel drive, high and low gear, reverse, neutral, park. I've learned how to do everything over the years as I got into doing it more and more, and it's become natural. I've also learned how to steer, go left, right, and really being in control of the vehicle. And I've just learned a lot. With the golf carts, I learned how to charge the battery. I've also learned how to fill up the gas, in my side by side. I've learned even to charge the battery in my power wheels. So I went from battery power to gas power, which is insane to think about how in that time we have really seen a lot over the years. This episode really means a lot to me, because maybe you guys can, because this will give you an insight of where I came from, and maybe that'll help you out as well. So if you ever have kids, or if you do have kids, start them off when they're young. Get them a Power Wheels, and then move them up to the RZR 200 EFI, just like I did, moving up to from a Power Wheels to two golf carts, and then move up to a bigger machine, and have them conquer the trails. That's another thing. If you want to take them trail riding, you can always get them a RZR 200 EFI. That's if they're 10 years old, at least 10 years old. You have to be at least 10 to drive the RZR 200 EFI. But I guess there's kids younger than that, like a couple of years younger. Then, because I know Polaris recommends as there's no kid under the age of 10 to drive the Polaris RZR 200 EFI. How old does a kid have to be to drive the Polaris RZR? Oh, RZR 200 EFI. So yeah, start them off when they're young. The Polaris RZR 200 EFI is designed for kids 10 years old and up. It requires adult supervision at all times for operators under 16. So yeah, key parental controls and features to keep young drivers safe as they learn. Polaris equips the RZR 200 EF5 with several customizable controls managed through the Youth Ride Control app. I guess it's from Polaris, the Youth Ride Control app. The speed limiter it ships set to a maximum speed of 16 miles an hour. Parents can gradually unlock top speeds up to 29 miles per hour as the child builds experience. Geofencing allows parents to establish digital boundaries and control top speeds inside versus outside, decide riding zones. Helmet aware technology works with an attachable Bluetooth beacon on the child's helmet. Parents can set the vehicle not to turn or not to start or limit speed if the helmet is missing. That's pretty much what my RZR does. Is if we're not buckled up, if the driver's not buckled up, it limits the speed to like 15, 16 miles an hour. It's a safety feature to keep everyone safe and not flip over. Pin code start prevents unauthorized driving without parental permission. Economics includes adjustable seating and steering wheel so the vehicle grows alongside the child, which is great. There's also the 150, which is more of a utility side by side, like you would see with the Polaris Ranger. But I guess I mean I guess it's whatever. You just have to do your own research if you do have kids and having them start at whatever age they feel is comfortable. Because, how about a golf cart? What about with a golf cart? How old does a kid have to be to start driving a golf cart? Oh, unlike youth OHVs like the RZR 200, there isn't one universal answer for golf carts. It depends heavily on where it's being driven, state laws and local neighborhood rules. Oh, private property and golf courses, age 12 to 14. Yep, which is great. That's pretty much when I started was age 12, 2006. The same year we got into getting my own golf cart from Graham. So basically, the first year of getting our first golf cart was when I was 12, and that was around the time I got to drive the golf cart around on private property, backyards, or inside gated communities. Golf courses, the rules are up to the property owner or venue. Most golf courses require drivers to be at least 14 to 16 or have a valid permit or license to operate the rental carts. So basically 14. Public neighborhood roads 14 to 16. Wow. So golf carts are quite different ballpark than a youth side by side. So I guess if your goal is to go trail running with your kids at family friendly off road parks like Carolina Adventure World, then yeah, start about age 10. which means they'll probably have at least a few years in your own side by side before they move up to their own machine, the Polaris RZR 200 EFI. Which next time we go to Redline, we got to do a review on the RZR 200 EFI. That would be perfect. And we even got to look at the H2. There's a lot of side by sides we need to look around and do multiple reviews. That'd be so cool to go to Redline one day and look at, kind of take a quick look at some side by sides to show some of the best side by sides for 2026 going to 2027. That'd be neat. I actually saw a RZR 200 EFI in person. It looks so cute, like teeny tiny. So yeah, if your goal is to go off-roading or go trail riding, then yeah, start them at age 10. But if your goal is to go camping at places like not Carolina, but Myrtle Beach State, or any campground where it's not focused on off-roading, then yeah, you can start them off at age 12. Start them off around the yard, but I guess it depends on where you live. Like for me, living here in South Carolina, there's a lot of properties with really big yards, and it gives people enough room to start driving and learning how to drive around yards. But I guess it depends on how much property you have. But also, Power Wheels can be really good for as young as age 3 or age 4, because you want to start them off way too young. So what about a Power Wheels? Let's see, for a Power Wheels, this is probably their first ever. Power Wheels and other battery powered toy ride ons are designed for younger children, typically ranging from 12 months to 7 years, depending on the model. How old a child needs to be comes down to the voltage class of the toy. Toy models like 6 volt, ages 1 to 3, 1.5 to 2.5 miles an hour. But a standard Power Wheels, which is 12 volts, ages 3 to 7. So that's basically the youngest to get a kid into driving is age 3. For me, that was 1997. So I might have gotten my Power Wheels in 97. And I used it in 98, maybe 99. Maybe 2000. I can't remember when I got rid of that Power Wheels. It had to have been sometime in the 2000s. I probably didn't have anything from the early to mid 2000s before we got the golf cart, the 2003 Easy Go. It was sitting right there in our yard when I got pulled up from school, because one of my friends picked me up from school. They actually did that for a lot of times, up until they did that for about a year or so. If my mom wasn't able to pick me up, I think one of my friends picked me up from school and took me home, and that's when I saw the golf cart in my yard. So, yeah, we saw the golf cart right there in the yard. And around that same time, my neighborhood that I was in, we were getting our road paved, which I didn't like. I liked living on a dirt road. So the road was paved. I enjoyed living on a dirt road for up until 2006, 2007. I actually enjoyed it. I enjoyed every bit of it, living on a dirt road. And at that time of getting the golf cart, my first golf cart, that's when they were paving the road. I mainly stayed around the yard for most of the time, and then if we were together as a family, that's when we rode around in the neighborhood. Was when we were together as a family. That happened for about a year or so, and then after about a year of owning that golf cart, maybe 2 years, yeah, 2 years after owning the golf cart, we brought it here to this house, and that's when we finally got to go for a ride around the neighborhood. I was old enough to go ride in the neighborhood. And I did that up until 2022. Y'all know why. But maybe I did that until 2023. Maybe late 23, early 24. And it just sat in the. So I guess when it comes to. I guess it's whatever it comes down to. I think it was late 23, early 24. My neighborhood was getting so crazy. All these Yankees moving in left and right and just making my neighborhood unsafe. I spent years riding around my neighborhood until more and more people start moving in, which I didn't like. And now I just spend my time mainly around the yard, driving my side by side. And it's just, it is what it is. More and more people start moving in, and I don't have any space to ride around my neighborhood without people cutting through or walking their dogs, which is scares me to death. And because of that, I just stay in my yard where it's safe. So that's why I stopped riding around in my neighborhood, and just stayed in the yard. I felt more safe driving in my yard than in the neighborhood. The only time I've been around the neighborhood was if with my mom or my dad. If we're riding together in the side by side, I would take them for a ride, or if I was with someone else, I would take them for a ride around the neighborhood in the side by side. And then we'd take them for a ride in the neighbor or in the yard. I guess because of the power, it's way too fast for my neighborhood. and I guess they're not allowed on the road. Maybe that's why I haven't driven around my neighborhood since the golf cart, because ever since I got the side by side, they just become way too illegal for, they're just not allowed on the road. So I just stay in my yard to ride in the neighborhood, or not around the yard. Maybe that's why. Especially with the side by side. I think that's what I've been doing for the last year or so until we take it on the trail. And when we take it on the trail, we start to really venture out. We'll be going a lot more places on the East Coast to take the side by side, whether it's the Havel McCoy trails up in West Virginia, or go to Durham Town in Georgia, maybe the Wind Rock in Tennessee. There's a lot of places I want to take my side by side. So make sure you like, comment, subscribe. And before I forget, make sure you like, comment, subscribe, and the notification bell so you get notified when a new trail riding video goes live, or I do another episode of the Off-Road Campground Podcast. It's be fun. And we'll see you guys probably in the next one, since we've reached over an hour on this episode of the Off-Road Campground Podcast. And this one felt more personal because this will kind of give you or answer the question, or how I got so good at driving, going from a Red Jeep Powerwheels in 97 to 2025 upgrading to a RZR XP, and upgrading the power and upgrading stuff over time, and it's like a huge upgrade. And I think the side by side is the best I can get. So I hope you guys enjoyed it. We'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.